talking about Superman, whenever there's a new Superman coming, everybody's, gabbling, who's going to be the new Superman? Well, no character does that embody more than James Bond. It's always the question in Hollywood. For longer than I've been alive, the question is, who's going to be Bond? Who's going to be Bond? And now that Daniel Craig is officially retired as the role, of course, everybody's been talking. Is it going to be Tom Hiddleston? Is it going to be Idris Elba? Is it going to be Henry Cavill? Is it going to be somebody else? Whatever. Well, the producers of Bond, the Broccoli family, were recently talking about their upcoming casting, that they have not cast the role, but they are just in the beginning processes of starting a little search for it. And they still say it's probably going to be a couple of years before we know who it is. But they said something very, very interesting. They talked about the process of trying to find somebody. And a couple of things they said was like, first of all, it's not as easy as you might think. Because while a lot of people love to play Bond, not a lot of people want to sign up for the length of commitment that it's going to be to play Bond. And specifically, they were asked about Idris Elba. This comes from the folks of Variety wrote this. Broccoli and Wilson hadn't recently spoken to the longtime Bond candidate, that's Idris Elba, at the time of this interview, but they said they understand he's great, says Wilson, and Broccoli quickly adds, we love Idris. The thing is, it's going to be a couple of years off, she notes, and when we cast Bond, it is a 10 to 12 year commitment. So he's probably thinking, do I really want that thing? Not everybody wants to do that. It was hard enough getting Daniel Craig to do it, Wilson interjects, and he was in his early 30s at the time. And then Broccoli goes on to say, and he ended up regretting it with a laugh. But, we talk a lot about, with the franchises today, and by the way, that's cute and adorable, franchises today. Bond's been a franchise a lot longer than any of them. But with franchises today, it's often a question when they sign up an actor for roles like, well, how many films deal do they have? That is also a big question with Bond, because whoever takes on the role of Bond is embodying now that character. They become a caretaker, if you will, of a IP, of a character that has been around longer than they've been alive. They are part curator, part custodian. They are entrusted with this character, and they have to embody the character, and they've got to have a long-term commitment to do it. And Rob, I think a lot of normies like us, we think, oh, every actor in the world would be jumping at the chance to play Bond. And Broccoli actually points out in the interview herself, she goes, and that would be true if it was, they'd love to come and do this one movie and commit a couple of months.
Right.
But it's a different thing. Rob, I think, saying right at the outset, we are not going to compromise on this. We want somebody who is committed for a decade to 12 years. That probably means 3 to 4 films. So you hear about this. What do you take away from this interview?
Well, I mean, she's absolutely right. If you look at Sean Connery's tenure as Bond, it went from 62 to 71, and then he came back in 83 and played it in Never Say Never Again. Roger Moore played Bond from 1973 to 1985. That was 12 years. Daniel Craig lasted from 2006 to, when did that movie come out? 2021? No Time to Die?
15 years.
Long time. I mean, and you're looking at multiple films, and these are hard films to produce, John. It's hard to, be an actor and then do a bunch of stuff in between, because the length of production on these films is so long. I mean, people still can do it. Daniel Craig found time to be in a few other things, but they're tough, and I understand. And if you look at it, I mean, when you're talking about 15 years, even 12 years, that's a long time in a lifetime. I mean, how many decades do we get? 4. You get sets of, say, 20, you live to be 80. 15, 12 to 15 years. That's a big chunk of a life.
Of your working career, too.
Yeah,
a huge chunk of your working career.
And it's your prime. I'm sure they want to cast a Bond. I mean, I would imagine if they reboot the Bond franchise and it starts today and he truly is on His Majesty's Secret Service and we do it in this world and it's not, let's go back to the 60s, which is weird because the Bond films, there were Bond films in the 60s. But I mean, you're looking at if a 33-year-old actor is going to be at 50 when he exits Bond. And I understand where they're coming from. They have to do it that way because it's been shown. Even Pierce Brosnan, who did 4 Bond films, was almost a decade. That's a long time. And it's a long time for anybody. And look, whoever they cast as Bond, I think it's got to be somebody new, somebody vibrant, somebody young. And Idris Elba, he'd be what, middle of his 60s if he took over the Bond role?
I'm not, or Ray, can somebody look up how old Idris is right now?
Sure.
I loved his new film, Beast. I mean, I really enjoy. I'm not gonna say I love it. It's not like a top 10 film of the year,
50
but
years old.
How old? He's 50.
He'd be 65.
So he'd be because they probably wouldn't start shooting this movie for a couple of years. And by the time he probably.
I mean, if anything, he should play M.
You know?
Yeah, maybe he could play in.
Oh, did I just step?
I mean, that's
Or they
Matt
could
Reeves
totally,
does it again.
Or they could totally reinvent Q. Like, how cool would like a totally reinvented Q be with like an Idris Elba?
well, then
Who could
Wishaw's
actually
really good.
physically intimidate Bond?
Right.
Like that would be kind of fun. Anyway,
very
Chris,
fun.
you're hearing
Bring the
about all
equipment
this.
back.
What do you think about the idea of a 10 to 12 year commitment that they're looking for? And do you have any? Who's your personal front runner right now? Is there any names that you think could be in the lead right now?
The two that I really want now with the timeline might not work because I really would like Richard Madsen or Henry Golding. Both are about 35, 36. So that does push them into,
It's still not far off from where
It's
for Daniel
doable.
Craig was. It's
Yeah.
doable.
I love
And-
both those choices, by the way.
And they're both very like spry young dudes right now who have done a lot of action things. I mean, Bodyguard, that was basically Richard Madsen trying out for Bond.
He was so
Yeah.
good in that.
He was
Brilliant.
very
If you
good in
haven't watched it, you should. Henry Golding obviously is fantastic with action. Even if some of the action films haven't, stuck the landing, he does a really great job with it and is a tremendous actor.
He was so good in The Gentleman.
And he's ruthless. You
Yeah.
can see that he can bring that edge to it.
Even in that new Dakota Johnson film, the Emma, I think, or no, it's another Jane Austen adaptation.
Oh,
he's
yes,
delightful in that,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
the cad in that. He's
Yeah, yeah.
wonderful. I love him a lot. So he can play that kind of like debonair, but also a little like snarky guy that I think is really fun when we have that kind of attitude.
The
with
dude's
Bond.
also obscenely good looking.
Oh,
Like,
yes, he is.
As is Richard Madden. I mean,
Yeah.
that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's got to be it, right? You got to have a Bond that, I mean, he can't have a face for radio. Like you got to have a Bond that can be that suave, whatever.
But I think that a new Bond like a Henry Golding who has multi ethnicity in him is a perfect guy to play a Bond for today.
Absolutely.
With our world now. Like if they want to move forward, it's more, with the craziness that's happening internationally. I mean, in a way, a modern Bond franchise with China threatening Taiwan and Russia in Ukraine. I mean, it harks back. People talk about, well, we can go back to the Cold War. We're kind of in that now.
Yeah, look
and there's a
around.
whole new era of international intrigue and espionage that's opening up in terms of being fictionalized for a Bond movie now more than ever. And Henry Golding could be great on that world stage.
It's funny. I hear some people when we talk about what the new Bond film, who is going to be and what the Bond film is, will often say, well, the best Bond films they're set in the 60s and they're set in the 70s. That's where they should be set. And I will often correct them, say, no, Bond films have always been set in present day.
That's correct.
That's when Bond films have always been set. They have always been set in present day,
Yeah.
whenever present day is for those movies coming out. And I think that's the way it should be. And I love exactly what you're saying. There's a rich playground of narrative you can take from
Yeah.
the world stage right now.
There's all kinds of craziness. I mean, when you have real people like Elon Musk that are launching rocket ships, not unlike
We would be the perfect Bond villain.
I mean, not unlike Spectre, all the way back in with her volcano base in 1967. You only live twice. I mean, they really need to. The biggest thing with Bond, I don't care who plays Bond. I want great screenplays.
Well, I mean, that's always what they're going to go for. The question is for you guys. What do you think about this? The producers of Bond are saying, yeah, a lot of people would love to play the role, but we're saying it's got to be a minimum 10 to 12 year commitment, and they seem to be sticking to that. How do you guys feel about that? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. We want to take a second and thank a sponsor of this video, MeUndies. Luckily, we here at the John Campea Show work with MeUndies, makers of the most buttery, soft, and sustainable undies, bralettes, and socks that exist. Like many of you guys, I have spent my entire life wearing completely useless and uncomfortable underwear. And it wasn't until the good folks at MeUndies sent me my first couple of pairs that I realized I have not been living my life to the fullest. Now I wear MeUndies every single day, and it makes my whole day a hell of a lot more comfortable. Guaranteed to be the softest stuff you've ever felt in your life. Their signature micro-modal fabric is sustainable, breathable, and stretchy as heck. Available in sizes extra small to 4XL, they have new colors and prints dropping weekly, so there's always something exciting to check out. Try their free-to-join membership for free shipping on every order and exclusive perks, like an item shipped to your door every month, secret sales, and early access to their newest stuff. MeUndies has a great offer for the John Campea Show audience. For any first-time purchasers, you get 20% off plus free shipping and returns. So to get 20% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/Campea. That's MeUndies.com/Campea.